Hey, you know what's really cool besides me? Hey everybody, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here. You know your great real estate agent by your side when it comes time to buy a home, sell a home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley. And one of the things I've been doing lately is making all these short videos for the other platforms that you may not have seen. So I put a compilation together for you to check out. They're pretty cool. And believe me, I know cool. Hey, so this is kind of a touchy subject, but what do you do if you and your spouse own a house and one of you happens to pass away? There's so much going on at that time, and you really need to know what's going on with your house. You have some time to do it, so don't think you have to do it right away, but some things to know and maybe keep in the back of your mind. Realtor.com has Surviving a Spouse and the Tax Bill, How to Handle Capital Gains on a Home. So losing a spouse brings immense emotional weight, of course. But for many surviving spouses, one of the most complicated and confusing tasks is deciding on what to do with your home. Well, why is that? Well, if you're navigating the decision, it's important to understand how capital gains taxes apply to your situation. Capital gains taxes apply when you sell a home for more than what you originally paid for it, minus any eligible improvements or transaction costs. So the IRS currently, they have a generous exclusion for primary residence. So it is $500,000 for a married couple, $250,000 for a single person. But when one spouse dies, for the first 2 years after the passing, you can still claim that $500,000 exemption. It doesn't immediately go down to the $250,000 for an unmarried person. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has a proposal to eliminate federal capital gains taxes on home sales altogether. So then you won't even have to worry about that anymore. So what happens to capital gains tax break when your spouse dies? Well, like we just said, it's still there for 2 years and then it goes away. And what that could actually mean is, you end up paying a lot more to the IRS. There is some good news. Any qualifying renovations made during your marriage can help reduce your tax burden, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is all true. These experts in this entire article have missed something hugely important that is hugely important. So I'm glad you're watching Treasure Valley Dave. Does a home's basis reset upon the death of a spouse? Yes, it does. And it can be adjusted or stepped up upon the death of the spouse to the extent, depends on where you live. If it's a community property state like Idaho, California is. So what does this mean? It means the basis is adjusted to the fair market value of the property at the time of the deceased. So that means that if you guys bought the house 40 years ago, you get to calculate your taxes based on what it was at the time your spouse is passing, saving you tons. The experts didn't even tell you. I was going to say, don't believe the experts. They didn't even tell you. Hey, our great state senator, Tammy Nichols, she's put out this story to make sure that everybody knows about it because it's kind of important. It's a new law for Idaho's small sellers. And no, we're not talking about root sellers. We're talking about you got something to sell to somebody. New law means Idaho's small sellers won't have to charge sales tax. Hey, that's pretty interesting. So a new law took effect July 1st, creates an exemption for qualifying Idaho small sellers who won't have to charge sales tax on sales they make in Idaho. So Idaho law defines a small seller as an Idaho resident operating as an individual or sole proprietorship whose cumulative gross sales don't exceed $5,000 in either the current or the previous count. Sounds like lawyers made this up, huh? And also small sellers who qualify, they won't have to get a permit or collect sales tax on their Idaho sales. Oh my gosh. I remember back in California, you had to get a permit just to have a garage sale. And then I'm sure you had to collect taxes because Gavin Newsom or whoever is governor at that time, they wanted to make sure they got every penny they could. Sales of certain items are excluded, like lodging, alcohol, admissions are excluded from this exemption. Admissions to what? I don't know. Qualifying small sellers still have certain obligations. They have to pay tax on everything that they buy. They have to start tracking their sales if they make more than $3,000 a year. Register with the Idaho State Tax Commission when they participate in a promoter-sponsored event and report their income on their income tax returns. Well, yeah, they definitely want that. So it's like if you're a small seller, you go to the farmer's market or community garage sales and you just have stuff to sell. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Not that we're all that worried to start with, right? So we've got a story here about Boise. Now, this is just Boise, not the whole Treasure Valley. It's from our friends over at the Idaho Freedom Foundation, and it's Boise's FY26 budget, a betrayal of taxpayer trust. So this is an opinion piece written by Lynn Bradescu, and she makes some really good points there. She says that on July 15th, 2025, the Boise City Council approved the FY26 budget, which included a 7.6% property tax increase, ignoring the financial strain on residents. Did you know their mayor? Well, you know about their mayor, right? So anyway, the FY26 budget projects general fund revenue at $331 million, a 38.8% increase from just 4 years ago, far outpacing inflation of 22% and population growth of only 6.3%. So, and property taxes at that time went up 26.2%, and now they're looking at another 7.6%. That's a lot. One of the places the money is going to go to is staffing, of course. Staffing is another concern. City headcount is set to rise 16.2%. The city of Boise is going to have 2,133 city employees, 2.6 times the population growth, suggesting inefficiencies. Sounds like they need a Doge over there. Anybody got a chainsaw? Only 4 speakers, including the lady that wrote this article, opposed the budget, while all the other ones praised the council and the mayor's team, ignoring fiscal recklessness. Our author here says that pretty PowerPoint presentations filled with a few good explanations just don't cut it, but the budget was rarely advertised, and one would have to look for the document on the city website, over 200 pages. It seems that the blatant disregard for the flag law, that's where the state had outlawed flags any other than what are approved, like the state flag or the U.S. flag. Didn't stop the Boise mayor from putting up whatever made her happy. Public did not get exercised one little bit about this massive tax increase. Boiseans are not a bottomless ATM. So if you're coming up here thinking about, hey, where do I want to move? Maybe Meridian, maybe Eagle, maybe Nampa. But if you're going to move to Boise, know that it is populated with a lot of liberals. The mayor is highly liberal, and your taxes are going to be going up because, well, duh, that's what liberals do. Hey, have you heard the news? They're coming after you if you're older, or you plan on being old someday. And how's that? Because they want to take the money out of your house, your money. So how the hidden home equity tax disproportionately affects seniors. And this is from Realtor.com. So it used to be that, you'd buy a home early, you'd stay in it a long time, you let appreciation build, and you end up with a nest egg that you can have for retirement. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Maybe you could sell that big mansion that you got and move into something, downsize a little bit. That's kind of the plan. But under current federal law, homeowners can exclude $250,000 in capital gains from the sale of the primary residence if they're single, or up to $500,000 if they're married, and finally jointly. Of course, it's been like that for, over 30 years, something like that. Any profit above that that amount right there is taxed at a rate that can be as high as 20% depending on income. That's a lot. So the exclusion was originally designed to protect everyday homeowners from a tax that was meant for the wealthy. Isn't it always? But it hasn't been adjusted since 1997. And now more middle-class homeowners are slipping through the cracks. Crack is whack, buddy. Crack is whack. $660,000 for individuals and $1.32 million. That's what it would be if it was adjusted for inflation. But nope, it's not even half of that. So more retirees are discovering that selling their home means surrendering a significant share of their equity to the IRS. Man, that's got to hurt, right? Nationally, 31.6% of homeowners over the age of 65 exceed that single filer exclusion limit. And in 8 states plus Washington, D.C., over a half of the senior homeowners are over the exclusion limits. I'm going to guess California is probably in there too, because their price has gone up so much over the years. Older homeowners are likely to have lived in their homes for decades, which means they built up more equity. Likewise, many have already paid off their mortgages, so there's little debt to offset those gains. So the IRS, they got you. They got a target on your back, and they're coming to get your equity. So what can you do? I don't know. Talk to your tax professional about that. So you know what's funny? We just did a video about where everyone's moving to in the red states and from in the blue states. And one of the top places is going to be on this list. Home prices drop in 33 major metros. Eeks. Home prices are dropping at a staggering 33 of the 50 biggest metros across the country. As markets tilt more buyer friendly and sellers feel the pressure, list prices tend to follow, meaning down. The relatively undersupplied Northeast and Midwest remain competitive, while the inventory-rich West and South offer more concessions to buyers. Austin, Texas has the steepest decrease in its median list price. And here's a map of those 10 markets. Let's take a look. We've got a couple in California. This is the biggest price decline. Austin, Texas. Miami, Florida. Florida is where everyone's moving to. Texas is where everyone's moving to. Illinois is where everyone's moving to. From California, from Colorado, more big declines in Phoenix, Sacramento. Wow, Nashville. Why would they be declining? I thought everyone's moving from California to Nashville. Apparently not. Cincinnati coming in at number 10. Big decline there. Hey, so what'd you think of that? Okay, maybe I'm not as cool as I thought I was. But anyway, I hope that was enjoyable. You got something out of it. And, whenever it does come time for you to buy, sell, or even relocate here to the Treasure Valley, please give me and Marina a call. I'd be glad to help you out. And any other questions or anything, just shoot them on over and we'll see you on the next video.